Hello, Jesse here. You're listening to the Epoch of Incredulity, episode number 121, recorded October 3rd, 2023, featuring commentary from comrades Scott, Joe, and myself. We covered lazy labor reporting, McCarthy punished for his moment of decency, Dianne Feinstein finally as dead as she looks, and who's gonna fill those shoes? The writer's strike ends and a nurse's strike begins. China takes a proverbial shit on the State Department. The Canadian Nazi that completely broke my brain. Post-Soviet warfare. Slovakia not really feeling the NATO thing. And a positive development in Social Security reform. The slams are cute, but smell like garbage.
My politics are derived from my own material conditions and experience as a working-class black man in America. My people were fucking slaves, then sharecroppers. My great-grandmother's brother was dragged to death behind a Model T Ford for defending his sister from a white man. My grandmother was almost raped by a white man, but she fought him off. My uncle was murdered by a police officer at the age of 14 in 1980. So I really don't give a fuck what you think, and I don't think they did either.
So Kurt Schilling is just a piece of shit. Like, he fucking caused the end of some fucking, like, video game company, right?
Yeah, that was like 10 years ago.
He's like a Trump guy now. Or is he like, what is he?
No, he's like Alex Jones, but with like less following. It's really remarkable because like how important he was to like the 2004 World Series team. And even despite that, he has completely pissed away all of the goodwill with pretty much every Red Sox fan of the country because of just like how shitty a person he's become.
His last name is Schilling.
Yeah.
It's, nominal determinism, god damn it.
But yeah, I guess Tim Wakefield, who is like beloved by everybody, he apparently outed it on his podcast like a week ago. Even though like him and his wife both have like really bad cancer. Like Tim Wakefield had like terminal brain cancer, like glioblastoma, and his wife had been diagnosed with like
pancreatic
cancer. Jesus and they both wanted to be like super private about it. And then Kurt Schilling just outs him on his podcast. And then Tim Wakefield passed away on like Saturday or Sunday.
Jesus
so
Christ.
Like really robs Tim Wakefield of his privacy. Like,
yeah, what the fuck?
Instead of getting the privacy to be able to like go out with dignity and like the peace of, that he deserved, he has to spend like the last week of his life dealing with his private personal business being out on the internet for everybody to see and speculate about. Absolute garbage human being. May he eventually enjoy rotting with Dianne Feinstein, Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, etc. in eternal damnation. If there is a hell, which I kind of hope there is.
I just need a moment with that statement. Okay. Fine, I think hell is all around us. But anyways...
I mean, like, the somehow worse hell than that we already existed?
Yeah, Kurt Schilling.
Good, but I would say it's horrible yet terrible. Ugly yet disgusting. You suck.
Yeah, Kurt Schilling. Anyways, Sylvester Stallone telling Kurt Schilling that he sucks. Anyways, yeah, if you want to talk about Feinstein, that wasn't a bad transition.
Is it Feinstein or Feinstein?
Who gives? It's dead now. Who gives a fuck? I mean, seriously.
And Bernie's has finally ended.
Yeah, in a Fight Club-esque, now she has a name that we have to say correctly.
We had, we were going to talk about...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
We spent so long in the last episode.
Her corpse isn't getting any deader, so we'll get to it later, yeah.
I got a haiku cooked up for her too.
Her corpse has joined the Kennedy-Harvard School of Politics.
So, last time, we had like a 30-minute long hypothetical about Joe going on the picket line or whatever. He went...
Joe Biden.
Yes.
Not me.
No. Yeah. See, here's the fucking thing, right? Is that Trump didn't go to the picket line to support.
Oh, no.
Like he went to like a separate private auto parts manufacturer
to talk to a bunch of non-union workers.
Yeah.
But like it was reported as if he went and supported like a hitherto unknown labor force or something. I don't know. Like, it was just because like he went to the same.
Unlike Hillary Clinton.
He went to Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he just got the credit for like doing what he said he I don't even think he said he would. Like, he like vaguely said something about supporting Michigan, auto workers, and then did something completely different, and then got like press coverage for the shit that he didn't do. So it's whatever. It's the same thing that happened when he ran in the
last 2 election cycles.
CNN had like his empty podium instead of Bernie's actual speech.
Again, like, I had to ask last time, like, had Bernie even been to the picket? And like, yeah, he was there since day one. And yes, Joe and I got into it a little bit before we were recording. Like, it is historic, but at the same time, like, you are right. Like, it only goes so far. He broke up the fucking rail strike, and like I think maybe Biden's in the country saw that like breaking the rail strike was more important than this. But like at the same time, like, you're right, Joe. Like, he still sucks. So.
The UAW president, Sean Fain, see, it really does kind of sound like. But the point is, he said that even though Biden shut out the picket line, like, we're still withholding our endorsement until we actually get results.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it was successful in messaging what Biden wanted to message.
What Fain defines as results is, like, I want a better contract from these dipshits.
Yeah, I was about to say, what can Biden do, though?
I did just see a clip of Biden the other day. He went on 60 Minutes and he said, and I quote,
"How long is this program?"
He said, and I quote, "When I left the Senate, I convinced Strom Thurmond to vote for the Voting Rights Act." And the interviewer is just looking at him with, like, eyebrow raised, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Is that true? That's not true.
Strom Thurmond died in 2003. Joe Biden left the Senate in 2009. The voting rights bill was passed in 1965.
Sure.
That's technically possible. I mean...
Joe Biden was not elected to the Senate until 1972.
Maybe they were
good friends, though?
Yeah.
Ahead of time?
I mean, he did give the eulogy at Strom Thurmond's funeral, though.
What the fuck? Fuck Joe Biden. Joe Biden sucks. I'm pissed off now.
But hilariously, he made the eulogy all about himself.
Oh, well, that's kind of good.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Fuck this guy. Let's talk about me for a while. This guy was a racist. Let's talk about me. Well, I'm also a racist. Anyways.
Fuck this guy.
That was actually kind of the gist of it. This guy was a racist. I'm kind of a racist, but we're going to talk about me for the next 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. With, sorry, I'm responding to the text in the chat. Yeah. Way to go, Congress. You didn't shut down.
Yay.
You did the absolute bare minimum by kicking the can down a month and a half down the road.
Oh, wait. I got a haiku for this one. Congress and former House Speaker McCarthy get a joint haiku. Kick the can again. Murky methods, welcome ends. No soup for Ukraine.
I want to tell you people that he turned on that effect live, and I was not expecting it.
Curveball.
And it was so hard for me to not burst out laughing right now, but that was awesome, so...
I was like biting my index finger trying not to laugh.
No soup for Ukraine, dude. I don't know how they did it. They somehow like came to the best of both worlds. There is this a new red brown brown
alliance,
but it's not. There's no communist though. So whatever the fuck that is.
So it's just brown.
It's just a shit alliance.
Figuratively and literally.
I think it's a good outcome. I don't have to worry about losing my Social Security benefits, and Ukraine doesn't get their toys.
Speaking of brown things, the Department of Education began the loan repayments 2 days ago, and the rollout out of it has been an absolute disaster.
It is a disaster.
If you go on like the student.gov website or whatever, and you try to apply for like income-driven repayment, you'll get an error notice that says that the site is under maintenance and will be fixed at invalid time and invalid date Eastern Standard Time, so you cannot do this at this time. And if you try to call the customer service number, nobody answers the phone.
It's like those marquees that say could not connect to translation service.
That's a large language model.
It sounds legitimate.
No.
There are like reports of like AidVantage, which happens to be my loan servicer, of getting like balances wrong for people's loan balances and threatening to sue people who have already made their monthly payment.
So crazy shit, just fucked up. All right.
So it is at best a joke, at worst an absolute fucking disaster.
That's a disaster.
But everything's fine because we kicked the can down the road 45 days on the budget.
Yeah.
And we can do the same shit-tastical antics in about a month from now, where we get to do the same thing over and over again until either something really bad happens or, like, I don't know, the government, like, implodes, which seems like a lateral move more than anything.
I think that's what the Republicans want at this, or like the far-right Republicans want at this point.
Yeah, it's like a self-referential irony of like the government is wasteful, and then they like don't talk about anything except like not funding the government.
We're gonna make it even more wasteful to prove that it's wasteful. This loan repayment pause, which even people within the education department have admitted we are not prepared for, bureaucratically speaking, we're gonna do it in a really kind of half-assed way and let people just kind of wither on the vine. But it's not our fault.
Well, if the U.S. government doesn't take accountability, like, no one's going to hold them accountable.
The U.S. government taking accountability?
Well,
that's a foreign concept.
Well played. Sorry, I just got a burrito. I mean, I didn't just get, like, it just arrived.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I can hear you eating.
I can barely hear Jesse at this point. Like, did you turn your volume down or something?
No, I'm just,
He leaned back.
I move away from the mic to breathe.
God damn it. Yes.
How dare you breathe at a time like this?
Do you not know the reference, Joe?
No, I don't think
it's a reference to Chocolate Rain.
All right.
Also, McCarthy is out as Speaker of the House. Whatever. Pretty much expected that because he forced a revote like 25 times.
Matt Gaetz is going to do this shit and just be a legend. I really think that's what's going to happen. They're going to do it and just be legends. They're going to let the government default, and then it's just they're going to be legends, and everyone's going to fucking hate them forever.
I know, like, all the mainstream, like, the cable, the nightly news or whatever, like, oh, this has a huge impact. It's like, does it really?
Kind of.
I mean, there's a temporary speaker
McCarthy?
Until they find a new one.
Oh, yeah, the speaker, yeah, no, that doesn't matter.
They'll replace one dipshit, like, right-wing Republican with a different one. Who will most likely end up doing the same exact things and eventually get booted out of office again. Yeah. And they'll just keep going through this cycle until, like, the next election happens.
I don't know. I'd kind of rather not have, like, a confirmed pedophile as the House Speaker, but...
I don't think it's going to be Gaetz, because I think they're going to have to find a compromise candidate.
Wait, who's the pedophile?
Matt Gaetz.
How the fuck did he keep his job, dude?
How is he Wait,
because this because this is the U.S. Congress.
What happened?
You didn't know Matt Gaetz was, like, in a in a relationship with a fucking...
With, like, a 15-year-old or something like that?
I'm not even...
Oh, I thought he was, like, his son.
No, that was another...
That was another guy.
Kid.
Oh. That's weird.
Which doesn't make it any better.
No, Scott, there were more children.
I didn't know he was in a relationship with the
child.
With the child. That's unfortunate. Yeah, how does he like, was he...
I think it was legal, maybe, in the state that he...
Ugh.
I mean, he is from Florida.
I don't know. Fucking...
The future of America. God damn, I hate how his name's spelled, his stupid fucking face. Oh my god.
He has too many teeth, bro.
He's so annoying.
He has like a Wallace and Gromit looking mouth.
Serves the U.S. representative for Florida's 1st congressional district.
Cheese, Gromit. Cheese.
Which is, this part right here. Not even Tallahassee.
I'm never going to be able to get that image out of my head now.
Yeah, dude.
He really does look like something out of Wallace and Gromit.
Claymation ass pedophile.
Fucking freak ass looking motherfucker.
Anyways, whatever.
Gonna eat me.
Poor Gromit.
You guys can talk about other stuff while I eat this burrito. I'll be here.
He'll be there.
I'll supervise.
Joe.
Our supervisor is on a burrito break.
Joe.
I'm doing as much work as most supervisors.
Joe.
Yes?
Motherfucking who died?
Dianne!
There you go.
Finally.
Okay, stop talking about it. Jesus.
Yeah, Dianne Feinstein. It's really amazing how long the Democrats were able to pull off the weekend at Bernie's routine with her.
Oh wait, I have a haiku for her too. Ready? Wield her withered claw. Authorize defense contracts for the flesh can thaw.
That was actually funny. That was good.
The joke being that they used her corpse.
Yeah, pretty much. It's amazing that by the time she died, she had already lost her power of attorney like 2 months earlier, and yet was still allowed to stay in office.
We have a very strange government.
We really do.
Government.
It's truly remarkable how our government expects the rest of the world to like treat the United States as like a serious country, and yet this is how our government functions.
Functions?
We have like missiles pointed at everyone, so.
I mean, aside from all of the missiles and the financial power to like snuff any country out of existence.
That is
aside from that,
quintessentially American. There's your fucking credibility.
How this fucking country functions, more like how this country
dysfunctions.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah, she is finally done. Mercifully, at the age of 90. May she rot in hell.
That's a long run, 90.
Yeah, but she was like senile for like the last 5 years of that. And I really don't know how they pulled it off. I was coming out of work on Sunday when news broke. Gavin Newsom has managed to pick a replacement who does not even live in the state of California.
What? Please explain.
The person he has chosen to replace Dianne Feinstein, LaFonza Butler, is a resident of Maryland. So the newest junior senator for California is actually registered to vote in the state of Maryland, not California, the state that she's going to represent the Senate.
So, wait, is she moving to California?
I have no idea.
What the hell? How does this work? I don't get it.
They phoned it in.
I'm honestly not really sure how he was able to get away with it.
They phoned it in. They used the lifeline. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
California gets one of those.
You don't really like what?
I assume she must have to have at least one residence in California because that's like the legal requirements.
Yeah.
She's not registered to vote in California. She lives in Maryland.
Full-time lives there?
Yeah.
Well, I guess she's gonna start living in California.
She was the president of Emily's List when she got picked.
I don't know what that is.
They're like one of those abortion like lobbying groups. That's basically at this point like an organ of the Democratic Party.
But they lobby for abortion, right?
When it's a Democrat who's running. Because they have run attack ads against pro-choice Republicans.
It's a single issue pack, but their stance on it changes.
Yeah, what?
Like, they have in the past, like, run attack ads against pro-choice Republicans when they are running against anti-abortion Democrats.
So they're just, like, pure opportunists? Like, what?
Yes, because they'll attack Republicans for being pro-choice.
Okay. Okay.
They are, like, pure opportunists, as is, like, Planned Parenthood NARO. They serve the Democrats at the end of the day, and it's good for their donors, I guess, for whatever fucking reason. Interestingly enough, what's glossed over conveniently about Butler is that she worked as a lobbyist, like as a consultant for Airbnb and Uber during the like Prop 22 campaign.
Oh yeah, fuck. I forgot to mention Uber finally have
Finally, after like 10 years in business, have a profitable quarter.
Yes, they finally broke.
Very proud of them.
They finally broke even.
What is it, in the black?
Yeah, they're finally in the black after like 10, 12 years
they
or
made
whatever.
It, guys.
And into the black.
They've so thoroughly monopolized the rideshare industry that they fucking did it.
Fuck your taxis.
So, in the end, Uber also got its first senator into power.
So that's actually kind of discouraging.
Yes.
So, like...
Yeah, sucks.
Gavin Newsom promised to pick a black woman to replace Dianne Feinstein. Everyone expected that would be the progressive Barbara Lee, who was actually running for the next term of that seat.
He whiffed it!
But instead, he finds a black woman who just happens to be like a lobbyist for union busters.
He whiffed it.
Well, he kept his promise, technically.
So I guess he kept that end of the promise.
He whiffed it.
He picked Candace Owens.
Basically.
Whoa.
Just, without the explicit, anti-Semitism. Yeah, I just think it's funny that it's Butler is registered to vote in Maryland, but we'll switch her registration to California.
Yeah, she's moving. She's moving to California. She's got a reason to. So everybody's mad about this, I imagine, right?
Quote, Butler, who is in Washington and maintains close ties with L.A., had a stint as a director for public policy and campaigns at Airbnb.
That very important service.
Yeah.
Family dinner table kind of issues. Salt of the earth kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened.
Is Barbara Lee, by comparison, would Barbara Lee been...
Much better. I mean, famously, she was the only person who voted against authorizing the war in Afghanistan 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Wow. So she's an OG from way back when.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Bernie voted for that. She was literally the only person in the House of Representatives in 2001 who voted against it. It was 422 to 1.
Good on you, Barbara. Damn.
She is the OG on this kind of shit.
Damn. I'll have to brush up on...
Which is why, predictably, they did several months of Weekend at Bernie with, the rotting corpse of Dianne Feinstein to prevent exactly that from happening.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that, Feinstein made a big fucking, she put her foot down about, climate change and,
She put her foot down on, supporting, anti-gay rights.
She put her foot down on
that little ledge on the wheelchair.
On supporting the Green New Deal and on supporting LGBTQ rights and stuff. So those are the two.
She's opposed gay rights since the 80s.
No, but my question is then it sounds like this poison. It sounds like this person.
I know.
It sounds like this person that Newsom is appointing is not going to be any better in that regard. So that sucks. So.
No, but apparently she is openly LGBTQ, but as if that's supposed to gloss over the fact that she's going to be terrible on policy.
It is
Just
supposed
a
to gloss
corporate
over
dem.
that.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it's for.
Yeah.
Corporate dem, great. Need another one of those.
That's what Gavin Newsom said. He said,
"You got the job. Do a great job of glossing over all this important shit."
I feel like this is an A for play, which is she's the head of Emily's List, and it's because Newsom clearly wants to run in 2028. It's if I give you a seat in the Senate, you give me Emily's List super PAC when I run for president. That was my gut instinct.
So it's come to this. All we give a shit about now is abortion in Ukraine.
Abort Ukraine.
Good job, Democrats. That's all we give a shit about now is abortion and Ukraine.
And the Democrats are shifting to the right on what's left of the welfare state.
Except for Sherrod Brown.
And that's why we got Striketober. Are we done with the corpse? Have we pissed on it enough?
For now, at least.
For now? Okay. All right, whatever.
Who knows with these old necrotic fucks? I have no idea to exhume her corpse and put it back in the Senate. I don't know.
I hope so. That would at least make politics exciting again.
Oh, speaking of the Senate, I just want to point out where Congress's priorities are. The minimum wage hasn't been raised since I was in elementary school, but a resolution to reimpose a formal dress code. Joe Manchin proposed that and got that passed in 4 days flat.
Yeah.
Just because he has some petty grievance with John Fetterman.
Mm-hmm.
But no minimum wage increase, no end to the forever wars. We're still cutting food stamps, heat assistance for the elderly, and all these other social services. Mm-hmm. Despite inflation skyrocketing and people having to choose between their student loan payment and groceries. My grandmother was talking to me yesterday about how she saw some article about how an 82-year-old was able to get part of their loans forgiven, and she was telling me how it's common for old people to buy dog food because they can't afford groceries.
I've heard this.
Jesus Christ, that's grim even for me.
I mean, if you lost all your teeth.
Ugh. You lost all your teeth?
It's soft.
Oh yeah, that is pretty bleak. Goddamn, you're right, Joe. Jesus Christ. Oh,
Like I nearly spit out my coffee and was like, "What?" Because she said it like so matter of factly, like, "Yeah, this
Jesse's
is
just
fucked up
added the
society we're
visual.
in."
Yeah. Oh,
I was like,
Yeah.
"Excuse me, what?"
Your taste buds are completely burned out. Got no teeth.
Fuck yeah. Dog food.
Or cat food. I'm not gonna lie. There's some meals we give the cats. I get a little jealous.
To be
Smells
fair,
pretty
the
damn
food
good.
safety standards for pets in this country is probably higher than what we actually get to eat.
At least with animals, they have like guaranteed percentages on crude protein and fat and stuff like that.
Meanwhile, the FDA has no teeth, and the agriculture department might as well just be like a Monsanto concern. We might as well just like put that on the label.
Well, the FDA, they have no teeth. They can also eat some cat food.
I don't fucking care.
Serious aside, though, don't just give your cats dry food. Probably shouldn't just give them pâtés either. Give them something to chew on. Give them some meat.
the FDA's teeth are falling out. It's crazy.
Oh, they fell out like around the time I was born. It's not a new thing.
What do you mean the FDA's teeth?
Like they don't really have that much regulatory power anymore because Congress is like
I get
hacking
it
away
now.
at it.
I get it now. He was being clever. That's pretty good.
All of my like stupid puns, they're not landing.
Puns are just not landing.
A
Joe's
for
being
effort.
clever.
That thing sucks.
Oh, but it's Striketober, right?
It is.
I saw
Yeah.
a burrito turn into
The UAW has.
Thank you.
The UAW has expanded its strike again. They've called an additional 7,000 workers to the picket lines. They are continuing to turn up the economic pain on the three automakers and have explicitly said that they will continue turning up the pain until they have significant progress in contract negotiations. And I'm starting to think that the automakers are going to be the one who are going to have to blink first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Because they continue with like a rolling, like kind of the rolling strike, like asymmetric class warfare, and even polls that like CNN is willing to put out are like only like 19% of Americans support the automakers in this.
what fucking who?
Probably other rich people. Mostly.
Yeah, I would be like, so according to the CNN poll, about 19% of the American public are scabs.
Or just managers.
Who did they
and
interview?
Scabs.
Wealthy people who own, scabs. People who own capitals. Yeah, one and the same.
If they did a phone interview, then their audience is going to be skewing wealthier and older.
Mm.
Doing a phone interview, asking someone, "Do you think you're a racist?" They say no, and you just kind of go with it.
Well, dude, young people, they do not answer their fucking phones if it's an unknown number.
Well, yeah, because it's usually like some kind of scam. Usually,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Phones suck.
But if you're old and you don't really get a lot of calls, that might be exciting. CNN calls you up. Hey, buddy. What do you think about this shit?
it's funny. My grandmother, she gets a call from an unknown number today, and she immediately goes, "No, this is a scam. Not answering this. Nope."
She answers the phone and says no.
Also, the writer's strike came to an end. The writers mostly got everything they were asking for.
My first question immediately after I heard that they were coming to an agreement was,
You asked me, like, do you think that the writer's going to stay on strike if the actors don't have
Because the actors are still, probably not, unfortunately. I mean,
yeah.
Like, I don't think they legally can.
yeah, and people need to get back to work, so I don't think they would. My prediction is that, like, the actors' strike is going to end, like, give it 2 more weeks, or maybe, like, 3 more weeks, but it's going to end soon. Because, like, I'm pretty sure they want to get this done before the holidays. Because if they don't, then it's going to get into next year, and that's going to get messy and way too fucking long, and everyone's going to be mad at each other. And so the negotiations are going to be raw, and it's going to go bad. And so they want to get this done now. I don't think so, but it would be nice. So that's my answer.
I don't think that it's a matter of whether or not they want to or not, because, like, Taft-Hartley made solidarity strikes illegal in the United States. We are literally one of the only countries in the world in which solidarity strikes are illegal.
That's so weird.
There's only 7 other countries, and one of them is Luxembourg.
What happened in Luxembourg? What's going on, little bud?
It's not a real place. Don't.
All right.
Don't
No, I
believe,
can
Basically
believe
that.
that.
don't believe the map. It's a psyop.
We have
Yeah.
17 banks or whatever the fuck. That is it.
The British are trying to trick us.
Is that the country that you can just like buy for $700,000 or something? Like rent it for a day? No, that's Liechtenstein.
Oh. Quite more ridiculous name.
Quite good.
Also an unserious country that's basically just a few banks and a flag.
What more do you need, Joe? Come on.
I mean, I've been to Switzerland, which is related, but I only believe that's a place because I've physically been there.
I'm so stoked right now because Carlene and I, we ordered Mexican food, and she ordered flan, and I ordered flan separately, and she doesn't want hers, so now I have two.
2 flans?
2 flans.
That is exciting news.
2 flans?
Dos flan.
That's good. Joy.
Double the flan.
Double the fun.
Oh, look at that setup and
Fucking
rebound
love
shit.
flan, dude.
Oh! Oh! You know who we don't want to see rebound?
Well, speaking of
Yeah!
Nazis.
What about Striketober? Dude, such a good setup, you fucking asshole. What? I'm just kidding.
So 75,000 healthcare workers are going to go on strike against Kaiser Permanente over unfair labor practices.
Kaiser Permanente.
I'm just going to read a quick press statement from the nurses union. Largest healthcare worker strike in U.S. history will span hundreds of hospitals and facilities across the country. Over 75,000 Kaiser Permanente workers in multiple states will go on strike on Wednesday to protest unfair labor practices and unsafe staffing levels at hundreds of Kaiser hospitals and facilities across the country. The strike, which is expected to last for 3 days, will be the largest healthcare worker strike in American history. Healthcare workers are taking the work action to protest Kaiser executives' bad faith bargaining, which is getting in the way of finding solutions to solve Kaiser's short staffing crisis by investing in its workforce. Kaiser executives are refusing to listen to us and are bargaining in bad faith over the solutions we need to end short staffing issues, said Jessica Cruz, a licensed vocational nurse at Kaiser Los Angeles Medical Center. Quote, I see my patients' frustrations when I have to rush them and hurry on to my next patient. That is not the care I want to give. We're burning ourselves out trying to do the jobs of 2 or 3 people, and our patients suffer when they can't get the care they need due to Kaiser Permanente's short staffing. End quote.
I really feel for like medical staff in pretty much any capacity, but that must feel terrible because people are already in distress if they're like a medical patient, and if you are unable to give adequate care despite knowing what you need to do, so you're burnt out and you're also experiencing what is called vicarious traumatization, then you're like exponentially burnt out.
I could imagine it must be like psychologically like stressful. The strain of like wanting to help someone but not actually being in a capacity to do so because of like bureaucracy. As
a general rule, if you're a socialist and you haven't felt the frustration of being unable to help someone because of bureaucracy, you're probably doing something wrong. There's something particularly evil about short-staffing medical centers, at least in my mind, because many patients rely on the care of nurses for their literal survival. So the staff, most of whom get into nursing because of a genuine desire to take care of people when the stakes are too high for anybody else, are exploited initially by the education system, and then their employers, and then the lobbyists and politicians that want to use the profession as a political football, on top of the immensely demanding work itself. And when patients are failed by the lunacy of the system, nursing staff and assistants are often the primary targets of misdirected anger and anxiety. I'm not sure this model would even survive the kind of isolationism that conservatives pretend is necessary, because the owning class will eventually have to outsource labor from the imperial periphery once the American labor force has been disincentivized from taking care of people at every conceivable level.
Madeleine Albright, when asked point blank, Bill Clinton's Secretary of State, when asked point blank, was bombing the shit out of like Yugoslavia. Was that necessary? And she's like, it was worth the cost, all of these dead civilians.
Oh.
Well, it sure helped me climax at the time, so.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So this is a family show?
I mean, that is the attitude of rich people. We're just profit resorts. Like, we're just, you know, tools. We're disposable parts to them.
We're capital.
I have always found the term human capital to be intensely, like, disturbing.
What the fuck? This flan tastes different than mine.
Oh, no. The mystery of the off.
They gave you different flan. They gave me I think this one is better actually. Whatever. Even flan is better than no flan.
Oh my god. Flan.
I know it's kind of unrelated to anything, but the Chinese Foreign Ministry put out a statement on September 30th in which they explicitly called the United States an empire of lies.
Oh, hell yeah.
They ain't wrong.
The U.S. Department of State released a report on the 28th of September claiming that China has invested billions of dollars to spread disinformation globally. It says that China's quote-unquote global information manipulation is not simply a matter of public diplomacy, but a challenge to the integrity of the global information space, and if unchecked, Beijing's effort could result in a sharp contraction of global freedom of expression in the future. What is China's response? The answer from the Chinese Foreign Ministry was, quote, the U.S. Department of State report is in itself disinformation as it misrepresents the facts and truth. In fact, it is the United States that invented the weaponizing of the global information space. The relevant center of the U.S. State Department, which concocted the report, is engaged in propaganda and infiltration in the name of global engagement. It is a source of disinformation and the command center of perception warfare, from Operation Mockingbird, which bribed and manipulated news media for propaganda purposes in the Cold War era, to a vial of white powder in a staged video of the quote-unquote white helmet cited as evidence to wage wars of aggression in Iraq and Syria earlier this century, and then to the enormous lie made up to smear China's Xinjiang policy. Facts have proven time and time again that the U.S. is an empire of lies through and through. Even some in the United States, such as U.S. Senator Rand Paul, acknowledge that the U.S. government is the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world. Some in the United States may think that they can prevail in the information war as long as they produce enough lies, but the people of the world are not blind. No matter how much the U.S. tries to pin the label of disinformation on other countries, more and more people in the world have already seen through the U.S.'s ugly attempt to perpetuate its supremacy by weaving lies into emperor's new clothes and smearing others.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
No corrections needed, really.
Well, you had me up until Ron Paul, and then I was like, oh.
Well, no, Rand Paul.
Everything else.
Different Paul.
Still. Yeah.
Anyways.
You know who we don't want to see make a rebound? Old joke. Nazis. Yeah.
Well, depends on who you are. If you are, in the U.S. imperial sphere of influence, then...
Different feelings about that.
Like a week, 2 weeks ago, whatever the fuck it was, the Canadian Speaker of the Commons invited 98-year-old veteran of the Waffen-SS, Yaroslav Henka, to the Parliament while Vladimir Zelensky was in Canada to give a speech and beg for more money for his proxy war. And the entire House of Commons gave him a standing ovation. And the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, which is the, state media in Canada, their roundup of the event, they said in the voiceover that he was a veteran for Ukrainian independence and their war against the Soviet Union in World War II. Just casually said that in passing.
So, everyone fucked up.
And then, every Canadian politician, when it started to go viral, that, oh, yeah, the Associated Press has confirmed this guy was, in fact, a Nazi. He did fight in the Waffen-SS on the Eastern Front. A man who, in blog posts that he posted in 2010, 2011, is quoted as saying that the years 1941 to 1943, the first half of the war on the Eastern Front when the Nazis were winning, was, quote, the happiest years of my life. This man, they all gave a standing ovation to. Every Canadian politician's excuse quickly became one of two things. Either A, well, how were we supposed to know he was a Nazi?
What?
And excuse number two being, just because someone was in the Waffen-SS doesn't necessarily mean they were a bad person.
That's literally a one-to-one correlation.
Yeah, again, doesn't matter, if they were like personally responsible for the Holocaust, like they signed up and were a Nazi. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, this guy wasn't even. This guy fucking enthusiastically signed up.
Yeah,
to go
he was a
overseas
volunteer
and fucking support the Nazis.
It's really simple. If you were fighting the Soviet Union in World War II, you were a bad guy.
A bad guy.
The end.
He was like,
I love fascism. I'm going to go fight the communists because I hate them.
oh, I made a haiku about this, actually.
Here we go.
Please.
We have received the news. Oopsie, Nazis were bad guys. Sorry, Poles and Jews.
That one was like actually very good. No, that was like an actually very funny like poem. Like you had a whole you were in character, had a perspective.
Sorry about that.
That was good.
Yeah, it's
Jews and Poles. That was great. That was a great end. I loved it. Sorry.
It's very convenient
you.
that like Canadians they really do have a big Nazi problem because like they did actually help a bunch of SS Nazis immigrate to Canada to escape Soviet authorities after the war. Specifically so that they could go on to work in anti-socialist intelligence organizations during the Cold War.
They didn't even this is not, I don't think there's really any good reason to like harbor Nazis, but it's not like they were even really get anything cool out of it. Like,
no, you're right.
But yeah, so the House Speaker had to resign like 2 or 3 days later. And I agree with Jesse that like, I just still can't get over that his excuses. I didn't know he was a Nazi.
What the fuck, dude? Like, how do you
not know that?
Absolutely absurd premise.
It's funny, like, NATO put out, like, 6 months ago, they put out a video from their own Twitter account about, like, these revolutionary, like, resistance fighters who were fighting against the Soviet Union in 1947.
Well, 1947, the war was over.
Yeah. The only people fighting the Soviet Union at that point in history were Nazis.
Well, didn't the Cold War start then, also?
Yeah.
Wait a second. Are you sure it was 47? I thought it was like 42.
No, this was like a separate clip on Twitter from like a few years ago.
Oh.
Highlighting these like fascist partisan groups who were like fighting the Soviet Union in the first couple years after the war had ended.
Just in complete denial that the fascists lost World War II and they were still out there.
Yeah.
Fucking cosplaying for another 2 years. Yeah.
NATO.
I mean, NATO is a fascist organization.
Nazis at the office, more like it.
No. Okay. Fuck you guys. I'm gonna go crawl into a little hole.
No, that was great.
Anyways.
It was great.
So that happened like about a week ago. And then on the 29th of September, the U.S. Secretary of State goes on Twitter and does historical revisionism about the Holocaust.
Rad. What did he say? I love it when they do
That's not even legal in fucking Germany, dude. That's where they did it.
In Germany, what Antony Blinken tweeted would have been literally a hate crime.
What did he say?
He tweeted, quote, 82 years ago, Nazis murdered over 34,000 Jews at Babin Yar. That is true. I have covered this on the podcast when I delved into the details of like the historical context of why the conflict in Ukraine happened. Quote, 82 years ago, Nazis murdered 34,000 Jews at Babin Yar. This is where things take a bit of a turn. Quote, Soviets buried this history. That is a lie. Today, Putin's government manipulates to provide cover for Russia's abuses in Ukraine. The U.S. is committed to justice for Holocaust survivors and accountability for atrocities. The U.S. is committed to accountability for atrocities. Really? This is news to me.
Wait, Jesse, what was that?
I was just going to say they wouldn't even fucking take in Holocaust survivors.
Yeah, the U.S. famously during World War II turned away Jewish refugees.
I'm aware of that, but like after World War II.
Well, instead we just, pushed out the Palestinians.
I mean, we did take in Nazis too, so we fucked off.
Yeah, we pushed out Palestinians, created the so-called Jewish state of Israel, and instead of holding Nazi war criminals accountable, we were helping, Operations Paperclip and Gladio, where the United States, the Catholic Church and their Western allies, helping Nazis get permanent vacations to either the UK, Latin America, specifically like Bolivia or Argentina, or the US or Canada, so as to avoid being held accountable by the Soviets and then put on the payroll to do the CIA's dirty work and hunt socialists. Meanwhile, the Soviets were jailing and executing Nazi war criminals for their war crimes, And the accusation that the Soviets covered up the Baba Yar massacre is like beyond decency, like beyond the pale, considering the fact that they hold a memorial every fucking year in Russia for that massacre.
And that would have been the illegal statement, right?
Well, it's trying to blame the victim.
Well, not even. It'd be like saying the Armenians are trying to cover up the Armenian genocide.
Which,
Which what?
Kind of happening again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, kind of happening again.
See, I thought you meant yet again those goddamn Armenians are trying to cover their own genocide.
No.
No, you're talking about Nagorno-Karabakh.
I'm talking about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we should mention.
Which is terrible. And also, this is yet another thing that wouldn't have happened if not for the illegal dissolution of the Soviet Union.
I gotta be right back. I'm like covered in flan juice.
Oh my god.
Not covered,
Flan.
just a little bit sticky. All right.
He's got flan all over
Covering
him.
up the Flan incident of
I just don't want to
2023.
get. I don't want my keyboard to get
Flan.
done. Get fucking flan, dude.
Alright, wash yourself up. So, okay. So what's going on with Azerbaijan and Armenia right now, and that section of land, and the people have to get out of there because Azerbaijan is like taking control of it. It's fucked up.
Again, this is a problem that wouldn't have happened if the Soviet Union still existed, because, like, in the Soviet Union, like, these people were able to, like, coexist because they had, like, a shared identity. They were Soviets above any kind of ethnic disputes.
Huh.
Then all of a sudden, like, the Soviet Union gets illegally broken up, and then, like, there's, this fight for, like, resources and land, etc. Like,
Yeah.
and so this has been, like, a festering on and off problem for decades. The U.S., since the early 90s, has been actively funding the Azerbaijanis and, like, pushing them to do something like this, and then just kind of standing back and being like, well, hey, we didn't cause this, not our fault.
Why would the U.S. do something like that?
Because we want to destabilize the region.
Okay, but why?
To weaken Russia.
Okay. No, there was a very solid endpoint to the logic of they want to destabilize Russia. It's like, okay, yeah. I get it.
All the Russians have really wanted since the end of World War II is peace and regional stability, and the U.S.'s answer to that has been, no, fuck you. I'm oversimplifying 80 years of history, but that's the Cliff Notes.
Not good stuff.
Last April, Ukraine and Russia had actually come to a tentative peace agreement, and then Boris Johnson, who is apparently, like, serving as, like, the representative for the collective West, shows up in Kiev and basically is like, you're not allowed to sign this because we in the West will not back you. We will not support you anymore if you sign this peace agreement. Which would have, like, okay, like, the war is over, we won't try to topple your government even though it's still infested with Nazis. We'll pull back to where we were in, like, the middle of February, and you guys won't try to join NATO, and we'll work out, like, a security arrangement. And the West apparently blocked that deal. And not only did the West basically veto this deal, but we've been claiming in the press for, like, the last year and a half that the Russians are actually the warmongers.
The Russians are coming.
So we've kind of gone back to, like, Cold War era, like, propaganda of all Russians are bad to conveniently, like, paper over our geopolitical goals, which sadly seems to work because of several decades of constant propaganda along those exact lines. The people are basically primed for that.
Maybe you'll begin to wonder if there isn't some truth in it. Maybe the world really thinks we're imperialistic warmongers. Well, that's what the gravediggers want you to think.
I'm back. I'm not going to ask what I missed.
I'm shaking my head. I'm nodding in rapt enlightenment by Joe's explanation. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Nazis, yesterday, I was kind of shocked by this. Yesterday, Politico, which is like a centrist, like mainstream outlet, published an op-ed with the headline titled, "Fighting against the Soviet Union didn't necessarily make you a Nazi."
Oh boy.
What are you doing, Politico? Get out of here.
That is the headline. The sub-headline is, Canada's hunky scandal is a demonstration of how when history is complicated, it can be a gift to propagandists who exploit the appeal of simplicity. And at one point in the article...
Goes on.
Quote, in the case of Yaroslav Hunka, this is the guy who was given the standing ovation at the Canadian House of Commons, The mass outrage from his enlistment was one of the foreign legions of the Waffen-SS fighting the Soviet forces on Germany's Eastern Front. And it's a demonstration of how when history is complicated, it can be a gift of propagandists who exploit the appeal of simplicity. Quote, "This history is complicated." No, it's not. Because fighting against the Soviet Union at this time didn't necessarily make you a Nazi. Yes, it did. Just someone who had an excruciating choice over which of these two terror regimes to resist. However, the idea that foreign volunteers and conscripts who were being allocated to the Waffen-SS rather than just the Wehrmacht, that's really a semantic difference, on administrative rather than ideological grounds is, and I quote, "a hard sell for the audience's conditioned to believe the SS' primary task was genocide." It was. And simple narratives like, quote, "everybody in the SS was guilty of war crimes" are more pervasive because they're much similar to Crass. No, it's not. They were all war criminals.
I think somebody must have updated the Wikipedia page for the SS after that article came out, like immediately after, because the statement, quite literally...
Yeah, the third paragraph on the main page. The SS was the organization most responsible for the genocidal murder of an estimated 5.5 to 6 million Jews and millions of other victims during the Holocaust. So yes, they were. So fuck. Oh, Politico.
Members of all of its branches committed war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
But according to this op-ed written by like a former CIA spook,
everyone in the SS is guilty of war crimes is a simple but like pervasively untrue argument.
Wait, so how the fuck did this guy, like, how is this guy still alive? And how is he allowed to, like, pop into Canada for, like, a standing ovation? Like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Because he immigrated, he was,
because he's on the Canadian government's payroll.
Yeah, he was given refuge and allowed to immigrate to Canada after the war ended.
The one goddamn thing I support Mossad in was their Nazi hunter campaign.
Yeah, I saw someone tweet, which I couldn't stop laughing about. Where's Mossad when you need them?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
The call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah, it very much is.
Yeah,
like,
true.
There are like literal articles from like Canadian news outlets in the 40s that are explicitly like, yeah, the Canadian government is like importing a bunch of Nazis, and like the fact that they are Nazis is actually like a selling point to the governments.
Yeah.
Is this also Russian propaganda? This is like a Canadian news clipping from like 1946.
Canada was like weirdly pro-Nazi at that time, though. Even more so than the United States, because...
Which is saying something, because like Henry Ford was like a proud member of the American Nazi Party.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like, it's not as shocking as it sounds.
Canada, the country that did like the cultural genocide of like indigenous people, that was bad enough that the Pope had to come to Canada and give like a formal apology on behalf of the largest religious institution on the planet for their role in the cultural genocide of the indigenous people. No, that's totally a shocker.
That's another thing about the SS. Like, the SS was like so fucked up that like that like the rest of the German government was like, yo, you guys need to like
you guys need to like chill the fuck out.
Chill out. Like, they were the worst of the worst, dude.
You're bad enough that like literal Nazis have to be like, bro, chill on like the anti-Semitism.
Oh my god.
Like, homie, you're at like a 12 and we need you to dial it back to like a 7.
It's just like hitting me again. I'm fucking
Jesus
this is so absurd, dude. Why does this shit keep happening?
And yet, instead of like putting these people on trial for war crimes, we put them on the payroll instead.
Who are you trying to fool?
Oh my God.
They're Politico.
Granted, it's less surprising that Politico did this, given that apparently the parent company, I've said this before, the parent company of Politico in Germany, I can't remember the exact name off the top of my head, apparently requires its employees in Germany to sign a loyalty oath to the State of Israel, a loyalty oath to NATO, and the rest of the US-led global imperial order. So I guess it's less surprising when you consider that's the kind of vibe of the parent entity for this outlet.
And if you're curious to know about, like, the fascist roots in America, you look up the business plot.
Arguably, you could say that fascism is kind of, like, baked into the U.S. as, like, a society.
Well, but the business plot was a specific, like, fascist
No,
coup
it was.
attempt.
I mean, it was specifically a fascist plot of, like, the capitalist class wanting to, like, preemptively do a coup because they're worried that, like, the incoming administration is going to give their workers who are a little better than serfs, like, some of the profits.
Consider that David Duke was, in my lifetime, he was a representative for...
He ran for Congress or whatever.
He was a representative in, like, Louisiana.
Congress, ran for governor in Louisiana, and that was enough for, like, the incumbent president to openly condemn a guy from his own party.
But he did actually serve in the government, like a fucking literal grand wizard was an elected representative in the United States.
He was a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives from 1989 to 1992.
Yes, thank you. There's so much cognitive dissonance between the generally accepted knowledge that, like,
Nazis were bad,
and the fact that the same kind of people are basically still celebrated in the United States and Canada today. And Ukraine, for that matter. Bandera. There are statues of him all over fucking Canada.
Who is he?
Stepan Bandera was the leader of the Ukrainian nationalist movement.
Oh, okay.
They actually, with gusto, collaborated with the Nazis, and they committed genocide against the peoples of what is now present-day Western Ukraine and Eastern Poland, of Jews, along with Ukrainian communists, any communists, fellow Ukrainians who opposed them ideologically, Russians, Polish people, anyone that they felt to be ethnically impure. They collaborated with the Nazis, and they only had falling out with the Nazis when they realized that the Nazis weren't going to let them chill out in the Lebensraum after things ended. Because, like, the Ukrainian nationalists tried to declare a sovereign independent state, and the Nazis were like, the fuck you are.
Very direct.
A lot of people, like, who try to defend these people are like, oh, but they fought the Nazis too. That's after the Nazis turned on them because they tried to, like, declare an independence from them. That's not the same thing as, like, fighting them on principle. That's fighting them because they're all of a sudden decided to fight you as well.
Yeah, it's like Matt Gaetz and McCarthy.
Yeah, basically. Except for, hundreds of thousands of innocent people are dead. Most countries recognize what happened as a literal genocide. Of course,
a literal genocide.
The Ukrainians dispute this and say this is basically Russian propaganda.
I don't want to say the Ukrainians. Let's say the Ukrainian government, because, like...
Yeah, it's not like every Ukrainian is just, like, spouting this.
Yeah, like, realistically, there are far-right elements in Russia, and there are also not outright Nazis in Ukraine. Zelensky fucked over... I mean, he's currently fucking over the population of Ukraine as much as we are, because he's basically saying, like, take all of this shit that used to comprise the social safety net in Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, he's doing, like, shock therapy on steroids.
Shock therapy on steroids.
That'd probably be the same as regular shock therapy.
No, I mean, he's doing... That should be the I'm referring to, like, the economic shock therapy of the 90s.
Yeah, you get it.
Oh, okay. By going to war with everyone?
By, like, rapidly and forcefully liberalizing every single...
Oh, yes,
by, like, mass privatization of everything.
Oh, neoliberalization.
Because, like, that was a process that lasted almost a decade, and he's doing this at, like, 10 times the speed.
It's crazy how quickly Siberia got gutted because of that. Like, there used to be an actual industry in Siberia.
And now it's basically nothing. But, like, Zelensky is selling off something on the order of, like, $400 to $400 billion worth of state assets.
He's like a venture capitalist, but he's not selling a product, he's selling his own country.
He literally went before the New York Stock Exchange and was like, Ukraine is open for business.
Should go on Shark Tank.
He also said this before a conference of, like, weapons manufacturers, like, 2 weeks ago.
Hello.
Like, he's literally going around to, like, weapons manufacturers conferences being like, business is great.
There's a Shark Tank? Oh, this thing's so...
I mean, he is basically doing that on a larger scale.
Yeah, I know.
I will give you 3% stake in education sector if you give us more Stinger missiles.
Motherfucking politics is bullshit, isn't it? I think so.
Apologies for the bad accent.
It's alright. I just won't put it in the episode.
That also works.
That was was a dead-on accent. I thought it was perfect. And
all right, fine. I'll keep it in.
Keep everything in.
Well, you gotta make a poll question. How good was Joe's accent? And then the the two options were like
bad,
very very good, and perfect.
Absolute dog shit.
Very good or perfect. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's a good one.
All right, we have one more thing on the docket.
No, this is Slovakian elections, and then share it.
Oh yeah.
Two. So Shalak. What did I say?
Slovakia.
Shalaklia. What did I say? Slovakia.
Kielbasa.
Slovakia.
Craniotomies from Slovakia.
Is that the name of the death metal recommendation for today?
No, I have an interesting one today.
You're fucked, yeah.
But Slovakia. It's a beautiful country. It's kind of like how, if you go to like Scotland or whatever, there's just kind of like the ruins of like castles.
It kind of sounds like you're describing like Western Ireland, but with more castles.
How could you possibly determine the density of castles based on what I just said?
Well, because there aren't as many castles in Western Ireland.
So what's going on with their elections?
The left wing, what is it called? The
left wing,
the party called Direction Social Democracy, which is a left-wing political party. They won the election that happened over the weekend in Slovakia. The leader of that party, Robert Fico, was running on a platform of withdrawing military and financial aid to Ukraine and calling for peace in the conflict, running on opposing NATO, and he won.
Opposing NATO?
Explicitly anti-NATO. And interestingly enough, that is actually quite a popular position in the country. This was a poll from earlier this year, a couple months ago, done by like a pro-Western like think tank. This poll found that nearly 70% of Slovakians fear that arming Ukraine could drag them into war. Literally a third of Slovakians actually want the country to withdraw from NATO entirely. Less than 6 in 10 Slovakians actually want the country to remain in NATO. And this is a poll from a pro-NATO EU think tank. Apparently, they're trying to like oust this party from like the EU grouping of like the Soc Dems, which is kind of funny.
Think they'll be successful?
Well, I don't think it matters.
Honesty.
It's like a symbolic thing more than anything. It's like, how dare you? We're gonna like do the symbolic punishment for like your voters choosing the thing we didn't want. I just think it's like one of those kind of funny but kind of like futile things.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure.
It's kind of pathetic. So yeah, it's positive news.
It is positive. We have more positive news.
Yeah, Schmerit.
So,
kill myself. No.
It was brought to my attention, specifically by The Nation, that yes. What's your question? You gonna make a joke about how
no.
It's the whole country or the?
Yeah, I thought about it, but no.
Yeah.
It's all right.
The Nation, they had a story on potential for a piece of Social Security legislation called the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act. There's basically two identical bills in the U.S. Senate and House. Senate Bill 2767 or H.R. 5408. It actually looks very promising in the Senate, not so much the House, which I guess kind of makes sense given the state of the House, not the state House, but the state of the House.
Which is also equally incompetent.
Clever.
Which is like kind of a shit show. But this SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act, it's a very simple bill. The text is very straightforward. They basically amend the resource limit for individuals and couples.
On like, what is it, like Social Security, like supplemental income? It's like SSDI, but for like permanently disabled people who can't work at all.
SSI it's different from SSDI in that there's there's no D.
Oh. Oh.
God damn it.
That makes it make sense.
No, it's different. There are different requirements to be able to obtain SSI versus SSDI. Like you can get SSI even if you're not disabled, If there's something that like the state determines to be like a sufficient barrier to you being able to maintain employment, whether or not that's a disability, you can qualify for SSI. But a lot of poor households really get fucked.
Because there's an income limit.
Not only is there an income limit,
you're only allowed to have like $2,000 in savings.
Exactly. If you're on SSI, you cannot have any like emergency funds. In a way that's even more pervasive than SSDI, much more pervasive, one could argue. It keeps the recipient of Social Security income dependent upon Social Security income basically for the rest of their life or until they decide to get off of it. And the number, $2,250, hasn't been updated for a long time. I don't remember exactly how long. The asset limit was last adjusted in 1989 when, as the article notes, a loaf of bread cost about 60 cents. This bill would increase the ceiling on savings from $2,000 to $10,000 for individuals and from $3,000 to $20,000 for families. Retirement funds would also be excluded when determining asset totals. And another thing that it would do would continue to adjust those allowed savings and benefits allocated with inflation, which is what SSDI already does. So this could potentially be like a pretty huge deal for a lot of people receiving
supplemental security income.
And I think it's more promising in the Senate because it has been referred to the Senate Committee on Finance. Probably would be the territory of the Subcommittee on Social Security, Pensions, and Family Policy, of which Sherrod Brown is the chair. Also, Ron Wyden, another co-sponsor, and Bob Casey is also a co-sponsor.
That's kind of a surprise.
So Bob Casey, Ron Wyden, and Sherrod Brown are all sponsors / co-sponsors of this bill in the majority of that subcommittee. And I really don't know about Bill Cassidy very much to testify to his character or whatever, but
he's like one of those like center-right to like kind of right-wing Republicans. He was like a doctor before becoming a senator.
Like Louisiana is a whole other animal when it comes to American politics. Like, Louisiana is the only state that uses fucking parishes instead of counties. So
I don't know.
Someone on Chapo said it would make sense if Louisiana still had like a king.
Yeah, I could see that. But it's also produced like interesting figures like John Neely Kennedy, who's like a bit right wing, but he also is like the only person in the Senate who will say things such as "I love the dialectic." He's also the one who last year, when they were grilling like Neera Tanden to be like head of the budget agency, like Office of Management Budget, he asked her at one point, like, you've called Chairman Sanders everything short of calling him an ignorant slut. And then said, I would like the record to reflect that I was not calling Senator Sanders an ignorant slut.
Very nice.
Learn something new every day, I guess.
The other senator who got my attention, who sponsored the bill, was Jamie Langford of, like, Oklahoma. That one kind of feels a little bit out of left field, but it's somewhat tangentially. Anytime I think of a senator from Oklahoma, I think of the other senator from Oklahoma up until last year when he retired, James Inhofe, who in 2014 walked into the Senate chamber, got on the floor of the Senate, waving around a snowball, and was like,
"Behold, a snowball! This snowball is proof that climate change isn't real! Because, like, if climate change was a real thing, this snowball would have melted already!"
I think the reason that this gets bipartisan support is because, like, nobody can pretend this is, like, some woke fucking thing. This is literally just people who aren't capable of obtaining a survivable amount of income of their own, you know.
And it would allow Republicans an opportunity to be like, see, we don't, like, totally hate poor people.
I guess arguably Louisiana and Oklahoma are both pretty fucking poor.
They are.
Especially the rural areas, like, super underfunded, just have been gutted.
A lot of public schools in Oklahoma have reached a point where they can only afford to keep the lights on like 4 days a week. So they've had to like shorten the school week.
So it doesn't really surprise me that there is bipartisan support for this, but I guess I am more hopeful about its passage because of the people that are going to be working on it. And I think Sherrod Brown is also the perfect person to represent the working class of Ohio.
He is. And he's the only guy who, at this point, he's the only Democrat who is actually able to win statewide elections in that state.
Yeah, he's a very popular. I think he has one of the highest approval ratings in the Senate.
Oh, he does. Last time he ran, I think he last was up for re-election in like 2018. That was a cycle in which the Democrats suffered a net loss of 2 seats. It was like a very red cycle for like the U.S. Senate. And yet he still won by like a very comfortable margin.
So yeah, right to your... I think Elizabeth Warren is also on the...
Yeah, I think she is.
Yeah. Please use that tool on comrade-rosie.org.
Yeah.
Write to your representative. Tell them to hop on board with co-sponsoring this bill. Again, that is the...
SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act.
S2767 or HR 5408 could have the potential to...
materially benefit a sizable cross-section of the working class.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Truly allow people who are completely dependent on supplemental income to be able to have a safety net.
To the extent our government allows a safety net to exist.
Yeah, like, there shouldn't be any fucking means testing on this.
Means testing?
I mean, means testing shouldn't exist as a concept in general, but, it's very hard to quote-unquote game the system. As anyone who has had any kind of contact with the welfare state in this country knows by now.
Yeah.
It was either on Trash Future or the Deprogram recent episode that I was listening to a few days ago, where it's like, there are so few ways out, and the very few ways that there are, like, to get out of the hellhole of being, like, trapped, basically, in, like, a shitty material situation is, like, those few places the state will heavily guard against you getting through.
Yeah, there's a lot of arbitrary, I think intentional...
Like, you are set up to fail, like, especially, like, SSDI. Like, the state will heavily guard you from, like, getting into that program.
Yeah, they make you work hard in a really ridiculous, stupid way.
Medicaid is like that to a lesser extent, but it's also pretty insane.
It's almost like they really don't want you to get it, but there's no way for you to, like, prove it legally.
Yeah, legally, like, we can't prove that the government wants you to, like, be poor and destitute.
It's definitely been my experience anyways. Like, can't tell you how many times I sent the same papers and they continually got misplaced.
I mean, for fuck's sake, Medicaid declared you deceased at one point.
Oh yeah, fuck, I'd forgotten about that.
Oh, fun time.
Thanks for reminding me, man. Anyways,
that was an example of, like, the state just being, like, fucking insane. Like, you're not going to get any benefits anymore because we have determined that somehow you no longer exist.
Yeah, I died.
I'm dead.
I died and spent 7 months trying to call an ombudsman.
My name's... Well...
Consider your contradictions heightened.
All right. I am very heightened, and I'm very tired. Yeah, my name's Scott. You can find me on the internet, Sweaty Wife, various places. Come join me, if you will. Joe, go.
I'm Joe. I appreciated the Trash Future sound drop just then.
It wasn't Trash Future. It was Alice, though.
Appreciate it all the same. I'm Joe. Since the regular season for baseball has ended on Sunday, I have less to complain about. So,
Joe has resorted to making Paleolithic tools in the shed behind his house.
I have less things to complain about, so I don't really know if there's anything I have to contribute on the internet for the time being. So you can find me here, I guess. And he's
Jesse. Yeah.
And I'm Jesse, and you can find my YouTube at youtube.com/@contingent. Doesn't sound right. youtube.com/@contingent Boston.
I
don't like that. Fuck that.
Yeah, sloppy.
Whatever. Just...
Why are they being so sloppy?
It's whatever. It's good, It's internet. I have a slam recommendation anyway.
The internet is whatever.
Your slam recommendation is...
Oh!
I fucking love this one. This is some motherfucking raccoon slam. This is literally a raccoon-themed band.
Alright.
The album is entitled Pawns of the Putrid God. And the band is Trash Panda.
Oh, okay.
They're from Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh. Jacksonville.
It still is the capital, but like.
I thought Tallahassee was the capital of Florida.
Is it? Yeah, you're probably right.
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee! Just like the fucking Mountain Goat song. I am tired.
You know, it's funny. Trash Pandas is actually the name of the AA affiliate of the Los Angeles Angels.
What random fucking fact was... Jesus Christ, Joe. He knows baseball, folks. Yeah, you can find us on the internet at Epic Incredulity, on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We are on Facebook. Find us. Be casual. Be lovely. Every week we say but tank, though.
But tank.
And, you know, we'll keep it brief. That was the Epoch. I'm like melting off my chair over here, dude. I'm so beat, dude.
Seriously, can I give you some fucking fruit juice or
I'd love some fucking fruit juice, please.
I've got some B vitamins. Hell yeah.